Hello, thank you for tuning in. In this video, we're asking the question, what makes a good landscape photograph? Can you clap? Bit more near the mic. Maybe. I'm also in search of a waterfall. I haven't seen it in 30 years. Is it still there? It's so windy. The reasons you see people clap on videos tends to be a kind of clapperboard type affair. It's in video or in film, it's used as a marker on the film, so you know your edit points and such, and when the scene starts and where the scene kind of sits into the storyboard. But in simple little vlog videos like this, it's typically, well, it can be used as the same thing, but also it's used as an audio sync. So that snap, that sharp sound, because I'm recording audio through a microphone somewhere under here. Under there, can you see? I don't know. Anyway, which might be a bit muffled, so I'd apologise, but it's incredibly windy. Anyway, it's so that you can sync the sound that's coming through the microphone to the camera with the microphone on the audio recording equipment. Just a little bit of dull insider vlogging stuff for you, which you probably already knew. And I'll probably cut it anyway. Today, I'm asking two questions. The first is a question, can I find a waterfall that I think I found 30 years ago when I was here on holiday with my father? And the second is, how can you tell a good landscape photograph? That second question is very much driven by a comment to my video that was published for me yesterday, and I'll put a link to it up here. Or is it up there? I don't. It's up there somewhere. Maybe even in the description as well, very likely. Anyway, the question is posed by one of my very regular viewers, who I thank very much, Anton. And I do hope, Anton, and I'm appalling with pronunciation, so I do apologise if I've offended you. Suddenly you wish to turn off. But the question was, because he's more of an intimate detail photographer, he finds it difficult to fully appreciate whether a landscape photo is a good photo or not, and therefore it kind of leaves it down to, oh, do I like it? And I thought, well, that's an interesting point to make, isn't it? Because isn't that what we all do? Yes, of course, there are elements that you can look at in any photograph and say why you like it, what makes it work. But isn't this whole idea of, is it a good photo or not, very, very subjective? And don't we all have the qualification to like or dislike something? It's not just about the composition and such, is it? I mean, obviously, ultimately, I suppose it is, but it's subjective, isn't it? If you like it, you like it. You might not even be able to say why you like it. And he also made the point that because it wasn't him that shot it, because he wasn't there, because he doesn't know the area, he can't get the emotion necessarily that the photographer was feeling at the point of shooting. And I think that's a valid point as well. So it kind of gets me to the question, how much does that matter? And of course, again, that's very subjective. Just to point out where we are. So from where we stand, we can see pretty much the three peaks of North Yorkshire. We have over here Pen-y-Ghent, kind of straight ahead, just where one peak comes down, then you've got the tree line shielding another peak, Whernside, and just over there you've got Ingleborough. We've partly been up, all three. I've been to the top of Ingleborough. This time last year on a trip up here, the pair of us walked up part of Pen-y-Ghent. As soon as it got to a bit of a scramble, Nicky couldn't handle it. and that's absolutely fine. And I suppose, actually a few days before, we did, I suppose, half of Whernside. Now, we would have probably done all of Whernside had I not kept stopping for photographs and doing vlogging. But anyway, that's another topic. And that topic is just how far do you walk when you're vlogging and taking photographs? Quite often, it's about that big. We walk about that long. Yeah, sometimes from kind of here to there. But it's not far often, because the photography and the vlogging takes a damn long time. I'll give you a good example. On a video, which I think I put it out when we were at Wyoming Brook, and I think it's probably about the same time again last year. We got to Wyoming Brook and doing lots of bits to camera, lots of photographs and such, and then suddenly we looked at our watch and we realised that it was going to get dark in probably about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. I thought, oh heck, we'd better turn round and get back to the motorhome, having done what felt like, I don't know, ages, because we were out probably 4 hours or so. 20 minutes back to the motorhome. That's all, and that was walking uphill. Quite mad. So what makes a good landscape photo? Light, scene. I mean, we should all know that whatever we look at in our 3D world doesn't always work terribly well when you take it into 2 dimensions. So you've got to create that level of depth. And I think I might have a bit of depth here at the moment, and I'm going to give it a go. And I don't know whether I want this lens or another one, although I'm pretty certain this one will do. I don't want to go too wide here. Oh, and already, actually, I'm quite happy just with this framing. This is rather nice. There's a big old quarry in the background, which is a bit of a scar on the landscape, and I mean scar as in man-made scar, not scar as in Yorkshire scar, which is also a scar on the landscape. So I don't want to get this quarry in the background if I can avoid it. And I think I'm hiding the whole thing behind this building. I really don't need the tripod, although it's cold and chilly and windy. I don't need to steady myself. I've got plenty of light. So let's have a quick talk about this image. I'm not going to pretend it's a remarkable shot, it isn't, but it does contain some of the elements that make a good landscape composition. So throughout the composition there's separation between the various elements. The main subject of the barn really stands out because it's got plenty of space from the hill behind it and also from the right hand side boundary of the image. And this is also helped by the very obvious layers in there, which create a depth perception as well, which is of course one of the things we have to create when we're making a photograph, because we don't have that 3D separation that our eyes create. But as I said to start with, it's okay, but it's nothing special. The lighting's a little harsh and that's not helping it. And one of the other things that really got me when editing it was this window frame, just a little bit of wood that's kind of just hanging down and catching the light, and I really had to tone that down because it just takes the eye. I think there's also a balance issue. There's just not quite enough on the left to kind of balance over the weight of the barn. Let me know what you think of it. Oh, and don't forget to click the like button and subscribe. This is looking more like it, and of course, I mean, I've kind of checked it on the map. I don't remember the name of it 30 years ago, but my memory of it way back then was that it was in little copse of woodland. Quite a drop to it. Used to walk up, often with the dogs, when we were staying in a little cottage down in the village of Stainthorpe, which is at the bottom of the valley. I'm hoping this is it. When I was here last April, I walked up another path that I remember taking the dogs for a walk and such. and I didn't find it, and I thought, well, perhaps my memory was failing me, or I had a false memory. You know how that kind of thing happens sometimes. But no, pretty certain it's here. Well, I can be as certain as I can be because there's a sign there that says Catterick Force, and I've seen it on the map, and it's close to the village, so I've got to be right here, sure. Well, it's certainly the place I remember, although I never remember coming all the way down to it. I've got a shot kind of looking through here, but as I was setting this up, I was inundated by people coming to visit the place and lots of children. Yeah, they're in the way, but they're having fun, so let's not worry too much over that while that's all happening. Let's try to work out whether I'm brave enough. I can't wear the glasses and watch. Work out whether I'm brave enough to try and get over into the middle with all of the gear, having just had one lens repaired and having another lens on me that's on loan. Yeah, I'm being very, very cautious because I have slipped once or twice already. I mean, just a foot slip, but you know, it's worrying to say the least. Anyway, while I ponder this, have a look at the shot that I got. It's going to end up being 2 or 3 shots that are kind of blended together. There's a long shot. That looks stupid, doesn't it? So there's a long shot. Long exposure shot. That's going to be blended with a shorter exposure shot to get what you can't see. These ferns, probably more static and a bit more. So it's a bit of post playing about with this one, but hope you enjoy it, and I'll try and work out whether I can get further across this beck. This was a real challenge in post-production. All of the waterfall ones were, actually. The top left, there's an awful lot of light, and getting that without it being blown out was virtually impossible. So it's actually quite heavily cropped. And in terms of composition, that really helps it. We've got the leading lines of these 2 rocks at the bottom pointing almost directly to the waterfall. If I have a criticism here, the gap between the rocks and the waterfall is just too big. Not blowing out the highlights or crushing the blacks and the shadows was really difficult. So this is 2 images that have been merged in Photoshop using masks. That way I can pull out the relevant detail where I want it, rather than having the AI do it all on its own. I did try it that way, of course. Just didn't work. And of course, one of the benefits of doing this by hand, so to speak, is that you can also select the parts of the image that are at different shutter speeds. Particularly here with the water, you can see the water droplets really just bouncing off the waterfall here. I've now taken 2 shots that I thought I was recording, and I got to back to one having shot it on the other side over there, and to find that the camera had turned off, which I couldn't see because I didn't have my glasses on. I thought, well, that's weird. So I got myself over the treacherous river, over it. No, it's not that treacherous, but you know, you don't want to slip when you've got a few £1,000s worth of camera equipment strapped to your back, do you? And I plonked you on that lovely little mossy covered rock there, and I shot me shooting a nice shot through here, which you'll see in a moment, or you may have already seen it. I don't know how I'm going to edit this because it's not very linear anymore. It's all gone to pot. because I turned round and you filming me from over there again, yeah, you'd stopped again and you turned off again. I thought, what the hell was going on? So I thought I'd give it a go. I had a look and I got 13 seconds of footage before it stopped recording. So I tried it again and I got 13 seconds before it stopped recording, when a message came up which said SD card too slow. So I might have an SD card in my packet that's dodgy, shall we say. Bugger. I have another shot to take over the back up here, so I'm going to collect my stuff and I'm going to set that up, and hopefully, yeah, oh, you're recording for more than 13 seconds now, so it's going to work. So the idea with this shot is to get the plunge pull and looking up and perhaps getting something down off the corner of this rock that I'm stood on. I'm just going to kind of eye it up handheld for a moment. I think in order to get this rock I need to come quite a way back to somewhere around here and put this. There's an errant rock there that looks like it really ought to be somewhere else. So we'll dress the scene ever so slightly. Doesn't look like it's been there long, given that it's pretty dry underneath it. So I bet if someone put that there earlier from somewhere else. And I think we want to be kind of up here somewhere. Right, so we're going to put a polarizer on this. The polarizer has quite an effect on opening up some of the highlights on the water. I'm going to kind of go for a halfway point on it. I'm going to do this without the aid of an ND filter, because there's not that much light. If I put my ISO down to its kind of native at 200, I get 1.3 seconds, which is quite a nice streak out of it. What I was talking about before that didn't get filmed was how we determine what's a good landscape photo and what isn't. And of course it is very subjective. And if you're not into landscape photos, perhaps you simply say, well, I like it or I don't. Really, we're talking about something that captivates the eye, isn't it? Something that captures you, something that keeps you looking at the shot that you're presented with. And to do that, perhaps it needs to be multifaceted, or maybe it just has to have a lot of detail, or maybe it just needs to have hardly any detail. There's all kinds of things that make it. So for this shot, we're talking about having, I wouldn't say leading lines particularly, but we do have some foreground interest. And in this rock down below us, we've got some grooves leading forward, and they're only in the very bottom edge of the image. So they're not playing a massive part in it. Just lock everything here to keep everything nice and stable. But we do then have some other lines creeping into it. So down, let's put this on video. Not that you can see much, but down here we've got this rock pushing your eye back that way. We've got the flow of water coming towards us, pushing your eye back. We've also got the line of the light coming in, streaking off the waterfall. Well, not the waterfall, but the plunge pool. So we've got a number of things that kind of lead you through to the focal point of the waterfall. And for me, I think that's a nice image. Nikki's been sat over there now probably for an hour or so while I'm fiddling around over here, so it's probably time to get back to her and continue our walk. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe. considering what makes a good landscape photo, I suppose we have to think about what elements go into it as well. So for the shot that I'm eyeing up here, we've got a leading line running through it. I'm using a rock down here to anchor the bottom edge. I've got some kind of mid-ground interest in a dilapidated farm barn there, and we're just looking into the scene with hills and mountains ahead of us. We're creating depth with the lines, with the elements close to us, with the middle ground, and working into the edge of the scene, or the end of the scene, taking us through. We've also got this wall guiding us through, and it's not a bad shot. I'm angling down to get this rock, putting my aperture at about f11, f13 in order to make sure that everything is pretty much in focus. I'm focusing about a third into the depth of the image, and actually I have the polarizer on as well, which was already set to darken down a hole in the cloud up there, because the sky, well, the sky is up there, you'd hope. The sun is at about 45 degrees to me, so I can get maximum kind of polarization. It's quite a nice little shot. What do you think needs to go into a landscape image? Let us know in the comments down below, and let me know what you think of the shot as well. I've been guilty more than once in this shoot of making this mistake, I think, and that is to make the subject a little too small. So I think the crop makes this look so much better. We sacrificed that rock, but hey, is that a problem? Which one do you prefer? And the other thing, of course, that makes a great landscape photograph is just awesome light. And just look at what we're presented with now. I mean, if this isn't awesome, what is? Where's my glasses? Down in the bag. It doesn't get a whole lot better than this, does it? I mean, it's just glorious. Glorious. I mean, just look at it. Fantastic. Now, I have a shot looking straight into the sun here. I've shot it without the sun being fully out. On the back of the camera, it's bloody amazing. I've got the 7-14 ultra wide on here because we've got this wonderful limestone pavement leading us through the shot, and that sun is achingly good. We're getting flare, as you might expect. I mean, yeah, just look at the sun, look at the ball on that lens. So yeah, I'm getting flare. So to avoid flare, I can't. Okay, so to avoid flare, I'm going to put you in the way of the shot. And what that's done is that's covered the sun in the shot itself, and by doing that we avoid the flare, and then we blend different images together, images that haven't got the flare, and we get a decent shot. Nice little trick, that. Now I think what this shot really highlights is that light is really obviously important, but what it lacks is a subject. And well, I could be forgiven here because I wasn't planning the shot, I wasn't expecting the light, and I didn't have a subject. I've tried as best I can to get that White House a little bit more visible, but it's not really a subject, is it? I mean, it's just too small. So what makes a good landscape photo? Well, I think throughout what I've done today, What you need is a set of ingredients. They can be varied, they can be many, they can be few. The point is how you mix those ingredients to make something that is not only eye-catching but captivating. So, what makes a good landscape photo? It is really what you like, isn't it? It's all subjective, but there's a few ideas there to help you go and use the landscape around you, capture some amazing shots. Maybe they're not amazing, you tell me. I'd like to know what you think of the shots, what you think of the video. Please let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button as ever, and if you've really enjoyed it, there's a link down below to buy me a coffee, because these videos take a great deal of time to produce, and coming to stunning locations like this a few hundred miles from home are also relatively expensive. So if you'd like to see more, a coffee would be appreciative, but don't feel a little pressured. We'll speak to you in the next one. Thank you very much.